Hey guys, Game Prime here. Happy New Year. I figured I'd make this video because last year, 2024, was probably the biggest year for the Sly Cooper series in a long time, probably 10 years, 10, 11 years. So I just kind of wanted to do a little news roundup and recap of everything that has happened for Sly in 2024. So we're just gonna start right off with May. In May, there was the pretty much the first round of anything happening, and that all started with Jeff Grubb because when he was talking about Perfect Dark and Summer Games Fest, he mentioned Sly, and I will play the clip here. But he basically said that he was hopeful that something with Sly would happen from Sucker Punch, and I don't think that was him saying that he heard anything, but he did say there's smoke out there, and that was kind of the really big first thing that happened this year in terms of Sly, and I still go back to it, and I still think that there's something there because it was just very odd and very out of left field that he said it. And I did a video back in May uh, when this first happened talking about it, and here we are in January now, and I still find it very interesting. So here, I'll play the clip real quick.
The thing that I'm like kind of pie in the sky about, but it's something that's been rumored elsewhere, and I have started hearing a little bit about it. And this is, hearing about it, but mostly speculation. So if you go write your headlines about this one, that's on you, because I'm washing my hands of it. I'm just saying, I'm hopeful that we would see something from Sucker Punch that is causing Ghost of Tsushima 2 to take a little bit longer than we were expecting. And my hope is something with Sly Cooper. We'll see. Again, not confirmed, nothing like that. But that's speculation. But it's definitely there's a smoke out there. Maybe where there's smoke, there's fire. Hopefully, we'll find out.
So the funny thing about that was Ghost of Tsushima 2, which is now Ghost of Yotai, that got revealed later last year. I forgot what month it got announced. I'm going to say September. Yeah, September it got revealed. So there was definitely a lot of questions going on with what was happening with Sucker Punch before Ghost of Yotai got revealed, and who knows if they were doing something on the side with Sly. We'll probably never really know unless something comes out. But Sly is definitely a game that would take less amount of time to make than a full-fledged Ghost of Tsushima sequel that's now, I think, like 500 years before Tsushima takes place or something like that. But yeah, so that was weird, and that was the first thing last year that kind of got my eye raised a little bit, because it was kind of just like, okay, that's weird. You don't hear somebody as big as Jeff Grubb talking about Sly that often, so that was the first thing that raised my eyes a little bit. Also, before I move on to the next thing, there was this interaction on Twitter between Grubb and a couple other people. He's just pretty much saying that the Sly thing wasn't on him. He said repeatedly that, well, there are rumors out there. He was hoping and speculating, nothing confirmed. But he said, how I framed it, I've heard about this but can't confirm it, so I'm just hoping and speculating. And this is the first instance of a couple times where there's been rumors and talk of something with Sly happening, whether it's a new game or whatever it may be. It could be what I'm about to get into in about 3 minutes. But before we do that, we'll get to this 4chan post that happened in May as well. Now, this is definitely false because there was there was almost nothing here. Now that I look at it, there was almost nothing here. But looking at it now, it's updated info about Fumito Ueda's next game. We saw that at the Game Awards, I believe. Resident Evil 9 wasn't there. This showcase didn't happen either, so this whole thing's pretty much shot in the water. Astro Battle for the Playverse, that's not what it was called. It was just Astrobot. Action platform game like Knack. Astro travels to different planets inspired by PlayStation consoles and PS peripherals. That was kind of true. He did go to different planets. You can recruit friends who give you their powers in battle. That was true. Everything else is false here, but then it says Project Sly Cooper, the Shang-Chi and Sapphire 2025, developed by Toys for Bob, XDev, and a small team of Sucker Punch. Then Marathon, and the last thing here, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which is pretty crazy because Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, got revealed at the Game Awards, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, that is Naughty Dog's next big game, and I believe that name got leaked before in like trademarks or whatever, so people knew of what that was going to be called, but that was kind of just the one thing that right there kind of caught my eye. But that's just the crappy 4chan rumor that mostly didn't end up happening. However, we're going to get into what was probably the biggest news of the year for Sly, and that was on May 28th, I believe it was. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus got announced for the PS4 and PS5, and this was a really, really big deal because Sly 1 was a part of the first wave of new PS2 games coming to PS4 and PS5 as a part of the new PS2 emulator put together, and it was just a really big deal to see Sly be one of the first games that they choose to put on this new emulator and a part of their PlayStation Plus catalog service, whatever the tier is. It's one of their tiers for PlayStation Plus. It's out of my mind right now. I can't remember what it's called, but it was Tomb Raider, Legend, and Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And Sly did exceptionally well. It is one of the most highest rated games on the PSN store to this day. It's sitting at like a 4.97, 4.98 or somewhere around that. And this was a part of the Days of Play PlayStation celebration thing, and there was also this new avatar that got released for PS Plus members as well. There was one for Lara Croft, Ghostbusters, it looks like, and something else. I can't tell what that thing next to Sly is. But there was this new Sly avatar, and I don't know who drew it, but it's in a style, I would say, similar to Sly 1, which makes sense because that's the game that got put on there. But I remember seeing it and I was like, that's brand new artwork. We got brand new Sly artwork in 2024. So that was really cool. However, when it got put onto the PlayStation and you could choose it or redeem the code that they sent you to get the avatar, it was really dark compared to the preview images they showed. So I don't know what the hell went on there. But that was pretty much everything that happened in May. Now, as we get to June, I believe it was June 11th, I think, that Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus comes out on PS4 and PS5. It was a pretty solid, I wouldn't say port, but it's a pretty solid emulation of Sly 1. The only downside was that it was in a weird aspect ratio compared to the normal 4:3 that PS2 games should be in, and this is a problem that the game still faces. All three of the games on PS4 and PS5 to this day. But aside from that, it played well, looks pretty good. It's the highest quality that we have the original PS2 version in, so that's really, really cool. It's just great, once again, to have all of them on PS4 and PS5 for everyone to play. It came with a new trophy list, it came with the save states, all the things within the emulator, customizable or remappable buttons, everything like that. So that was amazing, and I for the first time in my life, I sat down and played through the whole game in one sitting, which I've never done before. I've always just, played it a couple hours at a time, but I played it in one sitting. I was exhausted by the end of it, but it was so much fun. It was so worth it. And that was that for a couple months, pretty much. But also in June, the Sly YouTooz got leaked on Reddit. I believe I first saw it because I think PlayStation did a thing where they were, or YouTooz did a thing where they were showing upcoming PlayStation YouTooz, like there's one for Ratchet, God of War, etc., and Sly was there, but it wasn't like a big reveal kind of thing. It didn't get revealed until way later last year. But the Sly YouTooz got leaked, and I was like, cool, that's another piece of merch I'm getting. But that was it for June. We're gonna skip July. All July was me hoping for Sly 2 to get announced for PS4 and PS5, and I'll have a story for that in a little bit. But in August, a Twitter user by the name of Colin Lack put out on his page that something's happening with Sly, and he is definitely a Sly fan. You can look on his page, and I just searched up Sly, and it'll show me everything Sly related on his page. But the thing that first started was in July, so this was actually July news, but it wasn't really known until August. He said, I would love to see a new Jack game. I've heard that Sly Cooper is definitely happening, even if Sucker Punch is saying it's not in the works. So what he's referring to was back in 2022, there were, or I believe it was 2022, there were bigger rumors at the time that something with Sly was happening, and Sucker Punch pretty much had to come out and say, no, nothing's happening with Sly, nothing's happening with Infamous. But just because they said that back then doesn't mean that something can't happen now. Here we are 3-4 years later from when Sucker Punch put that statement out. Who knows what ball has gotten into motion. But after that, he put out a couple more interesting things, saying that something like Astrobot is being used to gauge interest, so if you want to see Sly, support that. And I'll be getting to that in a minute, or in a couple minutes. In August 6th, he said, keep an eye out for Sly Cooper stuff in the next year or two. There's something cooking. On August 21st, he said, I'm hearing some updates from my sources about the PS5 Twisted Metal and Sly Cooper. We haven't gotten that Twisted Metal yet, so I'm curious to see if that will ever become a thing. Last I heard, it was a live service game, but I don't know if they made it into something else, if they rebooted the project, whatever it is, but we definitely need Twisted Metal back. That would be awesome. Then the same day he said Twisted Metal will be announced at the upcoming PlayStation Showcase this year and will launch on both PS5 and PC at the same time with full crossplay. It'll launch in late 2025, early 2026. As far as Sly Cooper, I've heard it's now in full development with a new internal studio. That, once again, that PlayStation Showcase didn't happen. Who knows what went on at PlayStation? They had a weird year last year. They barely had any big games. Astrobot was their biggest game last year, but aside from that, they didn't have anything pretty much. So who knows what happened between August and the end of the year, but there were rumors that showcases would be happening all year round, and we never got one. We just got State of Plays. Then he went on to say it'll get a trailer in late 2025 to 2026, talking about Sly. Also seems like Sony might be using an internal animation studio to make a Sly Cooper TV series featuring traditional 2D animation instead of 3D one that was canceled. So a few years back, it was either 2021 or 2022, I can't remember. So much happens when it comes to rumors. There was a rumor that the studio that made Concrete Genie was going to make a Sly game. And they also got a studio to do a TV series, and the animation would pretty much be like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know if it's that same studio from Sony or if it was a different one. That never happened, once again, but I remember that being a rumor a couple years back. And then he just goes on to say, between... here, I'll read this thread here. Someone said, yeah, that's why I hope Astrobot does well to prove to Sony that other old IPs can still work in today's market. And then Colin said, between 750k to 1 million sales for Astro will be considered as a success and will get more platforming IPs the green light and get Sly Cooper prioritized. Funny thing that happened with Astrobot, it won Game of the Year. It won Game of the Year, and it pretty much sweeped almost every category that it was in for the Game Awards. The game did exceptionally well, like I said before. So that's a good that's really good in terms of the future for Sly and other old IPs that haven't been touched in years. So I'm just gonna keep going on here. He said on August 25th, the second and third Sly Cooper games will be released on PSN over the next 2 to 3 months, with Thieves in Time sometime in December or early into next year. So that was kinda wrong. So August, add 3 months, September, October, November. In November, I believe it was November 27th, and I'll get to this in a second when I moved to November, that's when Sly 2 and 3 got announced. But he said it will be released within the next 2 to 3 months. So he got the timing wrong on that, but they still did happen. But the bigger thing here was he said that Thieves in Time will come sometime in December or early into 2025, and we haven't heard anything about that yet. But here we go into September. Keep posting about Astrobot and Sly Cooper. Will they have a Sly game in development, and it'll get prioritized more if we make a push for it. Expect there to be something Sly Cooper related at some point in the future. Astrobot is selling well. The discourse is shown PlayStation fans really want change, and they want older IPs like Sly, Jack, Ape Escape, and Gravity Rush back. Let's go up a little bit, because I did have a conversation with him on one of his posts. I have to find it. He said, we'll get Thieves in Time, I'm hearing around February. I imagine the next showcase to be around April, which is when I've heard the new Sly game should be revealed. So that's interesting. We're in January now. February is the 11th. No, it'll be 12 years, good lord, since Thieves in Time came out, so it could have a similar release window. I don't know. That's gonna be a tough one. And I wish I could find the thread where I talked to him. But yeah, so I don't really know how reliable he is. He's a really nice guy. I've talked to him a handful of times. But it it adds to the Jeff Grubb thing where he hears something, this guy hears something. Who really knows what's going on here with whatever's happening next? So that was all just fuel to have everybody's mind going a million miles an hour. We're going to jump to November now. Sly 2 and 3 get announced for PS Plus. And they came out the same day. They came out on December 10th. And also in November, the Sly YouTooz finally gets announced, and it went up for pre-order, I believe, in December. So, Sly YouTooz was correct. That's cool, I got that pre-ordered. Sly 2 and Sly 3 got announced very randomly too, and I'll go into that story that I was going to tell with it. I mapped out every month, July, August, September, October, November, what day PlayStation always announces these classic catalog games. I was ready. I was fully prepared to make videos, everything. And then they go and announce it randomly as a part of a 30th anniversary post on PlayStation Blog, and I sleep through the whole announcement. So I wake up and I'm going crazy making videos and everything, but I was ready multiple times to cover that news. And when the news did break, I was dead asleep. So that sucked. But like I said before, it's awesome to have Sly 2 and Sly 3 on there. I've been playing through Sly 2 very slowly because I have so much stuff to do. But it plays great. It looks phenomenal. The only bad thing is the weird aspect ratio. And I can kind of see past that because it looks great and it plays great. So, Sly 2, Sly 3 come out December 10th. And the Sly YouTooz goes up for pre-order. But that's pretty much everything that's happened in regards to Sly in 2024. Way more news than I would ever think. But what do I think is going to happen in the next year for Sly? It's hard to tell. I do think the realistic choice or prediction would be to say that Thieves in Time will get onto PS4 and PS5 somehow. Colin, when I was talking to him a couple months ago, and I gotta find these posts because it's killed me and I want to show you guys. Okay, I am in the future. But I found some of the tweets that he was talking about Thieves in Time and the next game that they're potentially making as well. Going back to August, he said, so my source who's usually correct told me that we'll hear about the game in late 2025, early 2026. It's from a new team comprised of former Sucker Punch and Insomniac employees passionate about platformers. It'll have the ending for Thieves in Time as the prologue and will retell the first game, though there could be differences because of divergent timelines. And then he said, Thieves in Time, late winter, early spring, and the soft reboot announcement at some point in time. We'll get Thieves in Time, I'm hearing around February. That's what I read before. December 10th, he said, Thieves in Time very soon, then we're moving into the future of the series. And here's where I asked if it's a remaster or new emulation. He said it's like what they're doing with the PS2 ones. I said, gotcha, so is it like a new PS3 emulator then? And then he said, from people I've talked to, PS5 has some minor capabilities with PS3 games, which Sony had hoped would be better. It can currently play roughly 40% of PS3 stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if PS6 winds up having full PS3 emulation. So that really didn't answer me at all, because I'm like, okay, is it going to be emulation or is it going to be a remaster? And I'm still leaning more towards a remaster. That way, if they don't have PS3 emulation fully figured out, they could just get a team, remaster it, fix the technical problems, you know, the game has. Don't get your hopes up, everyone. The whole game isn't going to be fixed. Love it, hate it, whatever. But fix the technical stuff, and then put it out for $30-40. But I just found that while I was editing, so I wanted to splice it in here. And there we go, back to me from the past, talking about more Thieves in Time. But he said that it was going to be an emulator that they're working on for PS3. They haven't announced any PS3 emulator, they haven't done anything yet. So it makes me curious if emulation is actually the route that they're going to go for it, or if they're actually going to do a proper port or remaster. The game doesn't really need to be touched up a whole lot. The frame rates need to be a little bit better. The loading screens will, be solved because it's on PS5. The only thing that they would probably have to rework are the motion controls, but they could do that with, the motion and the DualSense anyway, so that's not going to be a big problem. I don't know how they'll do it on PS4. Maybe, well, PS4 has gyro controls too, so what am I thinking? That's like the only thing. Just fix the frame rates, fix the load screens. But the only thing is that they would have to get a dedicated team to do a remaster. But if they do a Thieves in Time remaster and launch it for $30-40, I feel like it would sell. The Sly games were $10 each, or the Sly trilogy was $10 each on PS4 and PS5, and you got both versions of it for PS4 and PS5, both with trophy lists for the separate versions, so you could get 2 platinum trophies per version of each game, which was really cool. I haven't touched the PS4 versions yet. But yeah, I think Thieves in Time would be the realistic choice of where they will go next, because now we have almost the entire series on there. It's just, how do they do it? That's the big question. And before anybody's like, oh, Thieves in Time's not canon, oh, it doesn't count. It's a game that released, and it's a part of the series. If they're actually going to do something with the series where they continue the story, then they need Thieves in Time out there. We need to get the full story on the same consoles so everybody can experience it from front to end. And that will be one of the first instances of having your full series out on the platform before a new game comes out. Ratchet didn't do it. All the Jak games are on there, but Jak hasn't had a new game. However, if Jak does get a new game because of the success of Astrobot, then that's perfect. You could play Jak 1, you could play Jak 2, 3, X, Daxter, Lost Frontier, for the 2 people who that game matters to. Sly would be one of the first series, except for like Uncharted and Horizon, I guess, to have the entire series right out there for you to play. So I think that they'll do Sly 4, and then after that, I feel like we could get a tease for what's next. That's gonna be rough, because I don't know how true any of these rumors are. I do feel like there's something happening, because they're putting a lot of care into putting Sly back out there, which is awesome, because it's the most attention the series has gotten in 11 years, pretty much. So, yeah, who knows what 2025 will hold for Sly. I just wanted to do this video because there was a lot of stuff that happened, and I could blab on for 30 minutes about it. But if you've watched, until now, thank you for watching. Here's to a great 2025, and hopefully a lot of good news when it comes to our favorite series. So, let me know if you guys liked the video. Tell me what you guys think. And, yeah, follow me on Twitter at GamePrime99, Instagram, game.prime, I believe. All my socials are down below. You can follow me on it, on anything. Talk to me about Sly anytime. And, yeah, let's see what happens. Thanks for watching, guys.